Shalom, I'm Rabbi Gail Schuster-Buskila, and today I'm going to talk about the second Torah portion, Parashat Tzav, of the book of Leviticus, Vayikra in Hebrew, and I will be talking about one subject that I've thought about, as well as my Midrash, and a link to my entire Midrash will be at the bottom underneath this video. And so I hope you read both Parashat Tzav as well as my entire video. Well, I'm not exactly recording this in front of a red background because I think I look good in red. Actually, I think I look better in blue. But today we're going to be just discussing Parashat Tzav, and although I have written a midrash out of a totally different subject, today's subject is going to be about fire. As you can see, we are on my midrash site, and I have discussed the paths to leadership for Parashat Tzav, but we do begin here with Leviticus 6, verse 13, and I'll go to discuss it in a second, but really what I'm interested in is the idea here that there would be some sort of burnt offering. I'm looking now at the Sefaria website, wonderful website that puts the entire Bible, Hebrew and English, next to each other. And you can also find commentaries if you check. And what I looked at earlier was also this verse 6, where we're talking 5 and 6, where we're talking about fire on the altar that shall be kept burning. Now, this is in the tabernacle while the children of Israel were in the desert, while they were wandering after they had behaved so poorly about the golden calf, etc., etc. And they were going to have to spend a lot of time worshiping in the desert, according to the book of Exodus and Leviticus and following, and that it was not to go out, and that every morning the priest would feed wood to it, lay out the burnt offering on it, and would turn into smoke the fat parts of the offering. And then, of course, a perpetual fire shall be kept burning on the altar, not to go out. I checked a few things, and one of the things I checked here was the idea of fire worship. Now, this to me seemed very, take this moment to make the print bigger. This is not specifically about the children of Israel and their religion at any time, but the fact that fire, and we did not worship fire. I want to say it clearly. We did not worship fire. However, there is a connection, as you saw in Parashat Tzav, to the aspect of a perpetual fire. And moreover, we do know that that the human beings may have controlled fire itself very, very early on in our history. And so we have here the earliest known traces of controlled fire were found at the Daughters of Jacob bridge. You'll see the picture of this bridge, and is dated to an amazing year, 790,000. I mean, so many millennia ago. I mean, it's just incredible. And this was found by archaeologists. But we do know, of course, that many religions worshipped fire, that they, of course, the Zoroastrians, it was an agent of purity. And that's an interesting idea, because Zoroastrianism isn't part of our religion. We're very far from Zoroastrian. However, this idea, an agent of purity, is part of sacrifices. What are we trying to do with the sacrifices? How are we trying to deal with them? And we also have fire worship in the Greco-Roman tradition. And then we have the short thing here about ancient Israel, that God, Yahweh, often spoke through fire, such as at the burning bush, and the pillar of fire guided to the Jew, guided the Jews through the desert. I'm going to skip this section, and I'm going to go straight down to a short section that has odd connections. This is my Midrash. This is not from the biblical verse. I go on a different idea. However, I want to connect to the places here that fire are discussed. So first of all, my Midrash, one of the lines is, Aaron lit the first flame on the menorah. Not just on the altar, but on the menorah itself, which was this 7-branch candle, candelabra, not the Hanukkah one, which has 9. This is the one that was supposed to be in the temple. The symbol is on many places, and this is also on the seal of Israel. But in Numbers, I know I'm talking about Leviticus, but you know, I have to jump around sometimes. Chapter 8, verse 3, Aaron did so. He placed its flames facing the front of the menorah as Yahweh had commanded Moses. We have a flame on the altar when we're doing sacrifices. We have another flame here on the menorah. These would be lit. And then I'd like to skip down to something that looks almost entirely disconnected. But down here, we have an idea that Deborah, who pronounced wise judgments while sitting under the tree, the book of this tree, this gnarled oak, or Tomer Dvorah, pronounced wise judgments directly to the crowd. She probably sat somewhere here. And in Judges chapter 4, verse 4, Deborah was a female prophet, the wife of Lapidot. Now here is a bizarre word. And if I had not been doing it on this subject, I mean, I knew this, but Lapidot means torches. Okay, torches which have fire. No one is exactly clear on what her name is. I mean, Deborah is Deborah, but wife of Lapidot, could it be wife isn't wife, it's a woman of fire? And so I did continue a little bit, not connected directly to fire, but future leaders of the people of Israel, beware of the countdown and brace for ignition. We on the ground will watch for your liftoff and follow the trail of smoke for inspiration. Try to follow the ancient leaders and plot your course straight and true, because we, the people, will always be watching, and we're watching the fire. Well, here in Israel, it's still a little bit of winter. And so I'm hoping that you all have a warm, not necessarily toasty, Parashat Tzav, Shabbat Shalom.